Half the office watched in silence as the billionaire slid out of his chair and went still, but it was the way his secretary stepped into the hallway and whispered into her phone that made him realize he'd just tested the wrong person. Hey friends, let us know in the comments what city you're watching from. And when we're done, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Marcus Reed had built an empire on steel nerves and clean decisions. But that afternoon, the one where he pretended to pass out, he wasn't measuring profit or performance. He was listening for humanity. Marcus Reed had always believed control was something you earned. You earned it by showing up early, by never letting your voice shake, by keeping your personal life so neatly folded that no one could tell it existed. At 48, Marcus was the CEO of Reed Holdings, one of the fastest-growing real estate firms in the Midwest. His name appeared on towers, hospitals, and community centers. People lowered their voices when he walked by. Junior executives straightened their backs. Assistants learned quickly not to waste his time. He liked it that way. Not because he enjoyed power, but because power kept things predictable. Predictable meant safe. 3 years earlier, his closest business partner had vanished with nearly $12 million, leaving Marcus to clean up lawsuits, investor panic, and the quiet humiliation of realizing he had trusted the wrong person. Since then, Marcus assumed everyone had a price. Especially the ones who smiled too easily. Which was why he didn't trust his new secretary. Her name was Ava Collins. She had been with the company for just over 6 months. She was efficient without being showy, polite without being distant. She remembered details Marcus never bothered to say out loud: his coffee order, his preferred meeting times, the way he liked documents stacked instead of clipped. She arrived early. She left late. She never complained. That alone made Marcus uneasy. People who carried things silently were usually hiding something. That afternoon, the office was thinning out. The open floor beyond Marcus's glass walls glowed with soft overhead lights. A few employees packed up laptops. Someone laughed quietly near the elevators. Ava sat at her desk, organizing files, occasionally whispering reminders to herself. Marcus pretended to review contracts while watching her reflection in his computer screen. She tucked a pen behind her ear, straightened a crooked pile of folders, checked her phone, then quickly put it face down. He noticed everything. And suddenly, he wanted to know why she worked like someone who couldn't afford to fall behind. The thought came to him in a way that made him uncomfortable. What would she do if she thought he wasn't watching? He stood abruptly, knocking a folder onto the floor. Ava looked up immediately. "Are you okay, Mr. Reed?" "Just tired," Marcus said. He sat back down, waited a beat, then loosened his tie, leaned sideways in his chair, and let his head fall forward. He closed his eyes. The room went still. Marcus counted silently. 1, 2, 3. His heart was pounding harder than it should have. He heard movement outside his office. Chairs scraping softly. Someone murmuring his name. Then Ava stood. Her footsteps approached slowly. Marcus. She had never called him that before. He stayed still. She stepped closer. Marcus. No response. Instead of shouting for help, Ava gently placed a hand on his shoulder. It was warm. Steady. She straightened his jacket. Placed a glass of water on his desk. Her fingers brushed his wrist, checking for warmth. Behind the glass, co-workers pretended not to stare. Ava glanced toward the hallway. Then, thinking he was unconscious, she stepped outside. Marcus could still hear her. Her voice changed instantly. "Hey, sweetheart." His chest tightened. "I know today was rough," she whispered. "But you were really brave at school." She paced slowly. "I'm proud of you. Yeah, I know the reading test was hard. But you tried, and that matters." There was a pause. Marcus swallowed. "I'll be home tonight. I promise. Just a few more emails. Did you eat the sandwich I packed?" Another pause. Her voice dropped. "You don't have to be strong all the time, okay? That's my job." Something cracked open inside Marcus. Ava ended the call and stood there for a moment, breathing. Then she returned to his office. She knelt beside his chair. Her eyes searched his face. Marcus. He opened his eyes slowly. She startled. Oh, thank God. Her hand flew to her chest. I was about to call an ambulance. Marcus sat up, rubbing his forehead. I'm sorry, he said. I think I stood up too fast. She handed him the water with both hands. Please drink. Her fingers trembled slightly. Behind the glass, people went back to work. Marcus took a sip. I'm okay. Ava nodded, unconvinced. I'll cancel your last meeting, she said softly. You should go home. He studied her. Her eyes were tired. Not bored. Not annoyed. Tired. Thank you, Marcus said. She returned to her desk. But the air in the room had changed. That night, alone in his penthouse, Marcus replayed her words over and over. For the first time in years, he searched for information about someone in his own office. He didn't know what he expected to find. Only that whatever Ava Collins was carrying in her quiet life, it was heavier than he'd imagined. And whatever he'd started that afternoon, he wasn't sure he could walk away from it. Marcus didn't sleep much that night. He lay awake in his penthouse staring at the ceiling, replaying Ava's voice over and over. You don't have to be strong all the time. That's my job. He'd heard versions of that sentence before, from therapists, consultants, well-meaning friends. But this was different. Ava hadn't been speaking to him. She'd been speaking to someone she loved, someone who depended on her. And somehow, without realizing it, she had exposed a part of herself Marcus had never been allowed to see. By morning, he already knew two things. First, pretending to pass out had been a mistake. Second, he couldn't undo it. He arrived at the office earlier than usual, hoping the quiet would help him reset. The building was mostly empty, the elevators echoing softly, the lobby still smelling faintly of cleaning solution and coffee. Ava was already there. Of course she was. She sat at her desk with her cardigan draped over the back of her chair, hair loosely tied up, typing something with focused intensity. A small paper bag sat beside her keyboard. Breakfast, maybe. She looked up when Marcus stepped out of the elevator. Their eyes met. For half a second, neither of them spoke. Then Ava smiled politely. Good morning, Mr. Reed. There it was again. Mr. Reed. The distance had returned overnight. Good morning, Marcus replied. He walked into his office, closed the door, and stood there longer than necessary. The day unfolded in fragments. Meetings blurred together. Contracts were signed. Calls were made. Marcus answered questions on autopilot while his attention kept drifting back to Ava's desk. She moved differently today. Quieter. More contained. She brought him coffee without making eye contact. She placed documents on his desk and stepped away before he could thank her. When he asked about his afternoon schedule, she replied efficiently, professionally, without the small conversational pauses she usually allowed. Whatever vulnerability had slipped through yesterday was gone. And Marcus felt oddly responsible for that. Late morning, he found himself standing by the copier near Ava's desk, pretending to review paperwork while actually searching for an excuse to speak. She was sorting mail. He cleared his throat. Ava. She looked up immediately. Yes. He hesitated. The words he'd practiced in his head sounded strange out loud. How is your morning going? She blinked. It was such a simple question. She smiled politely. Busy, she said. But good. Then she returned to her envelopes. That was it. Marcus stood there for a moment, feeling foolish, then retreated to his office. He had no idea how to do this. At noon, Marcus heard Ava's phone vibrate. She glanced at the screen, and her expression shifted. Not dramatically. Just enough. She turned slightly away from her desk, answering in a whisper. Yes, I see it. Okay. Tell him I'll call after lunch. She hung up and rubbed her temple briefly before straightening. Marcus watched from behind the glass. Something tightened in his chest. He waited until she finished arranging a stack of folders, then stepped out. Everything okay? He asked quietly. Ava froze for half a second before composing herself. Yes. Just school stuff. School. She hesitated, then nodded. My son's teacher. Marcus felt the word land inside him. Son. He didn't know why it surprised him. Oh, he said. Is he all right? Her shoulders relaxed just slightly. He will be. He's just having trouble keeping up lately. Marcus nodded. He didn't push. But the image formed anyway. A small boy struggling with homework while Ava worked late nights in a glass building that never slept. That afternoon, Marcus did something he hadn't done in years. He looked up an employee file. Not for performance metrics. Not for payroll. Just for context. He learned that Ava Collins was 32. That she'd become a legal guardian at 27. That her son, Ethan, had partial hearing loss following a house fire 3 years earlier. That Ava had transferred departments shortly afterward. That she took online certification courses at night. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Suddenly everything made sense. The long hours. The quiet competence. The way she carried herself like someone who couldn't afford to fall apart. Later that day, Marcus called Ava into his office. She arrived with her notepad, posture straight, expression neutral. Yes, Mr. Reed? He gestured for her to sit. She did. I wanted to talk about your schedule, Marcus said. Her brow furrowed. Is something wrong? No, he replied. Actually, the opposite. You've been staying late almost every night. I'd like you to start leaving earlier. Ava blinked. I don't mind staying. I know, Marcus said gently. That's not the point. She hesitated. I don't need special treatment. It's not special treatment. It's flexibility. She studied him carefully. Then shook her head. I appreciate it, but I'm fine. Marcus exhaled slowly. He opened his desk drawer and slid an envelope across the table. Ava stared at it. What's that? Help, Marcus said simply. For Ethan's medical care. Her posture changed instantly. She straightened. Her jaw tightened. I didn't ask for that. I know. I can manage. It's not a loan. Her eyes lifted to his. I don't want to feel like a charity project at work. Marcus felt the misstep immediately. He'd done exactly what he always did, tried to fix something with money. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That wasn't my intention. Ava stood. Her voice stayed calm, but there was hurt underneath it. I just want to do my job. She left his office without waiting for dismissal. That evening, Marcus sat alone in his penthouse again, staring out at the city. He realized he'd managed to take something fragile and turn it into something awkward. He'd crossed a line without meaning to. The next morning, Ava was professional. Polite. Efficient. But distant. She avoided small talk. She communicated through email instead of walking into his office. She smiled at co-workers but not at him. Marcus noticed everything. And he understood finally that whatever had started with a fake collapse had become something real. Something he didn't know how to navigate. As he watched Ava leave that evening, her tote bag heavy on her shoulder, Marcus felt a quiet certainty settle into him. This couldn't stay like this. Not for her. And not for him. By Wednesday, everyone could feel it. No one said anything out loud, of course. This was Reed Holdings, a place where people communicated through calendar invites and carefully neutral emails. But the shift was there, moving quietly through the office like a change in air pressure before a storm. Marcus noticed it first in the way Ava stopped bringing his coffee. Not dramatically. Not with attitude. She simply started placing it on the corner of his desk instead of handing it to him directly. He noticed it in the way she waited until he was in meetings before delivering documents. In the way she replied to his messages with short, efficient sentences instead of the small warmth she used to add. And he noticed it in himself. He reread emails before sending them now. He hesitated before speaking. He replayed conversations that hadn't even happened yet. This was new territory. Marcus Reed had navigated hostile takeovers and courtroom negotiations without blinking. But the quiet distance of one person mattered more to him than any quarterly report ever had. Late Wednesday morning, Ava knocked on his door. "Mr. Reed, the courier is here with the zoning approvals. Send them in." She hesitated, then stepped inside instead. She placed the folder on his desk and stood there, hands folded. "Yes." Marcus looked up. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I wanted to apologize," Marcus said. Her shoulders stiffened. For what? For assuming money was the right way to help. Ava studied his face. Then she nodded once. "Thank you." It wasn't forgiveness. It was acknowledgement. It was something. That afternoon, Marcus heard a small voice in the hallway. He looked up from his computer just as Ava stepped off the elevator with a boy at her side. He was maybe 8 years old, wearing sneakers that lit up faintly when he walked. He held Ava's hand tightly, eyes wide as he took in the glass walls and towering ceilings. Marcus stood without thinking. "Ava!" She turned, surprised. "Oh, I'm sorry. His after-school program closed early today. I didn't have anyone else." "It's fine," Marcus said quickly. "Absolutely fine." The boy stared at Marcus. Ava crouched beside him. "This is my boss," she said gently. "Mr. Reed." The boy straightened. "Hi, sir." Marcus knelt, bringing himself down to the child's level. "Hi," he said. "You must be Ethan." Ethan nodded. Marcus noticed the small hearing aid tucked behind his ear. He kept his voice slow and clear. "I'm Marcus." Ethan blinked. "Not Mr." Marcus smiled. "Just Marcus." Ethan considered this, then nodded approvingly. Ava watched the exchange like she wasn't sure what she was seeing. Marcus stood. "You're welcome to use the conference room," he told her. "There are snacks in the cabinet." Ava hesitated. "Thank you." Ethan tugged on her sleeve. "Can I draw?" "Yes," she said softly. As they walked away, Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Throughout the afternoon, he heard occasional laughter from the conference room. Once, Ethan wandered out holding a piece of paper. He stopped in front of Marcus's office. "I made this." Marcus took it. A building. 2 stick figures. A sun in the corner, drawn much too large. "This is my mom," Ethan explained, pointing. "She works a lot." Marcus swallowed. "It's very good." Ethan smiled. Co-workers pretended not to notice. They noticed. Later, Ava stood in Marcus's doorway. "I'm sorry if he's been disruptive." "He hasn't," Marcus said. "He's been refreshing." She smiled despite herself. That evening, Ava lingered by Marcus's office. "Thank you for today," she said quietly. "It meant a lot." He nodded. "You don't have to carry everything alone." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Ava froze. She looked at him. Then away. "I've gotten used to it." She left. That night, Marcus arranged Ethan's upcoming medical appointment through a private foundation his company funded. No announcement. No paperwork on Ava's desk. Just confirmation sent directly to the clinic. 2 days later, Ava found out anyway. She stood in his office, holding her phone. "You did this." Marcus didn't deny it. Her voice trembled. "Why?" "Because it mattered." "To who?" "To both of you." She shook her head. "I told you I didn't want charity." "It's not charity." She laughed softly, without humor. "You don't get to decide that." Marcus stood. "I heard you that day," he said. "When you thought I was unconscious. I heard everything." Her breath caught. "You weren't supposed to." "I know." Silence filled the room. Ava looked away. "This is why I keep things separate," she said. "Because when people find out, they start fixing things instead of listening." Marcus absorbed that. "I'm trying to learn," he said. She didn't answer. She gathered her things and left early. That evening, Marcus watched her walk out with Ethan, his hand in hers. Co-workers noticed. They always did. And Marcus knew, standing alone behind his glass walls, that this wasn't something he could solve with policy changes or donations. He had crossed into emotional territory he didn't know how to retreat from. And somehow, he didn't want to. Ava didn't come to work on Monday. Marcus noticed immediately. He told himself it was irrational, that people took days off all the time, that assistants had lives outside glass offices and quarterly reports. But by 9:30, when her desk was still empty and her inbox remained silent, the absence felt louder than anything else in the building. He tried to focus. He signed documents. He answered emails. He nodded through meetings. But every time he glanced toward Ava's desk and saw only an empty chair, something in him tightened. By noon, he finally asked HR if Ava had requested personal leave. She called in sick, they told him. That should have been the end of it. Instead, Marcus spent the afternoon replaying their last conversation in his head. This is why I keep things separate. He'd crossed a boundary. He knew that. What he didn't know was how to fix it without making it worse. That evening, Marcus sat alone in his penthouse again, watching headlights stream along the streets below like veins of light. He hadn't ordered dinner. He hadn't even noticed. For the first time in years, he considered that maybe being decisive in business had taught him nothing about being careful with people. The next morning, Ava returned. She arrived 10 minutes later than usual, eyes tired, movements slower. She offered Marcus a polite greeting and went straight to her desk. No warmth, no tension, just distance. Marcus waited until mid-morning, when the office quieted. "Ava," he said gently from his doorway. She looked up. "Yes. Could you come in for a moment?" She hesitated, then nodded. She sat across from him, hands folded in her lap. He didn't open his laptop. He didn't reach for paperwork. He just looked at her. "I owe you an apology," he said. Her expression remained neutral. For taking control of something that wasn't mine to control. She didn't speak. "I thought I was helping," Marcus continued. "But I see now that I made you feel small. That wasn't fair." Ava swallowed. "You don't understand what it's like," she said quietly. "People see a problem, and they rush to solve it. They don't ask what it costs to be seen that way." Marcus nodded. "I'm trying to learn." She studied him, then sighed. "Ethan had a rough night," she admitted. "He gets anxious before appointments. I stayed up with him." "I'm sorry," Marcus said. She shrugged slightly. "It's part of it." He hesitated, then spoke. "I didn't do it to feel generous. I did it because when I heard you in the hallway, I realized how alone you were carrying everything." Her eyes lifted to his. "You heard that?" "Yes." Ava looked away. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I don't need you to fix my life," she said softly. "I just need to be respected in it." Marcus felt the weight of that sentence. "You have my word." That afternoon passed quietly. But something had shifted. Not dramatically. Just enough. Ava brought him coffee herself again. They exchanged small smiles. They worked side by side without the heaviness of unspoken tension. On Thursday evening, as Ava gathered her things, Marcus cleared his throat. "Ava!" She turned. "If you and Ethan don't already have plans, would you like to have dinner?" Her eyebrows lifted. "Dinner? At my place," Marcus added quickly. "Nothing formal. Just food. No work." Ava hesitated. Then she smiled faintly. "Okay." She arrived 20 minutes late. Marcus had been standing by the window pretending not to watch the elevator. Ethan stepped out first, holding Ava's hand. He wore a hoodie 2 sizes too big. Marcus knelt again, instinctively. "Hey, Ethan." "Hi, Marcus." The apartment felt smaller with them in it. Warmer. They ate takeout on the balcony, city lights flickering below. Ethan talked about school. About his favorite cartoon. About how his hearing aid made funny noises sometimes. Marcus listened. Really listened. At one point, Ava stood by the railing, staring at the skyline. Marcus joined her. "You don't have to carry everything alone," he said quietly. She exhaled. I've been doing it for a long time. I know. She looked at him. Why are you doing this? Marcus didn't answer immediately. Because he wanted to be careful. Because honesty mattered here. Because you reminded me how to be human, he said. And because I don't want to go back to being the kind of person who ignores that. Ava didn't smile. She just nodded. Later, Ethan handed Marcus a folded piece of paper. For you. Marcus opened it. Inside was a drawing. 3 figures this time. A building. A sun. And a third stick person standing next to Ava and Ethan. Marcus felt his throat tighten. That's you, Ethan explained. Marcus crouched. Thank you. When Ava and Ethan left, Marcus stood alone in his quiet apartment, holding the drawing. He didn't feel fixed. He didn't feel healed. But he felt connected. And for the first time in a very long time, that felt like enough. Sometimes, it's not the big moments that change us. It's the quiet ones. The whispered promises. The shared dinners. The choice to finally let someone see you. If this story touched your heart even a little, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need it today. And don't forget, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from, and rate this story from 0 to 10. For more emotional stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss the next chapter. Thank you for spending this time with us. See you in the next story.